Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I'm here for the Thoughtful Studio design team today, and I have a DIY envelope album. Now I'm going to start at the very beginning and tell you that this was inspired by Tracy Reed. She is amazing, and if you don't know her, go find her on YouTube. But when I first put out this collection, this is the Tessa Wakes Up the World collection. It has a lot of florals in it. I'm just going to give you a quick peek at all of the papers and the embellishments that you get whenever you download the digital kit. This is available on the Thoughtful Studio Etsy shop, which I always link in the description box below. And also, if you are not subscribed to my blog, make sure you go check out my blog too, because I always have a supply list of all the things that I used for each of my layouts. This kit is very full of all these beautiful florals. There's also some little bees that are drawn on some of the papers. We've got some leaf patterns, a bunch of just plant related items on these patterns. And aren't they so beautiful with all the bright colors? Now in the collection, you will get 12 pattern papers, and then there's a bonus download of the embellishment sheet where you can cut apart all the elements that are on there. And I've got them all trimmed out here. Now it is a 12 by 12 PDF file whenever you download it, but I don't have a large format printer, and with everything that is going on, I have found it almost impossible to find a printer to print 12 by 12 for me. So I actually had it printed at 8.5 by 11. So my prints are a little bit, I'm not 8.5 by 11, I lie. I had it printed 8 by 8. So my prints are a little bit of a smaller scale, and my embellishments are a little bit of a smaller scale than what you will get whenever you download and print. Now you can very easily print 8 by 8 just like I did and have the same scale of patterns. It's just up to you on however you want to do it. So Tracy Reed, a couple weeks ago, she does a lot of like albums and DIY projects, and she had an envelope album, and I couldn't find the video that I originally watched. I think it may have been, I don't know if it was posted a couple weeks ago or if I watched a video that was posted a couple weeks ago and then continued down the playlist or something. I'm not sure. Either way, she took envelopes, and she actually took larger envelopes and then just kind of tucked the flap into the next envelope. And so I drew a little sketch of how I was doing that, and it takes a little bit of finessing to figure out how to get that flap in there once it has glue on there, but once you kind of figure it out, it's a lot easier. And if you used double-sided tape, it probably would be easier because you could slide it in there and then pull the backing off of it. But either way, I got it to work. So you slide, basically the way I did it is to have two envelopes with the opening side facing up with the flaps toward each other, and then I've put one flap into the next one, and then the other flap kind of is loose on the back, as you see here. And so then I take that back flap that's kind of loose and just continue to build the album with as many pages as I want. Each time you add an envelope, you're adding a front and back of another page. And then once you get to the very last envelope, and this can grow as much as you want, but once you get to the very back envelope, you just take that flap that's left over and you wrap it around, and that kind of creates your binding. You wrap it around to the front of your envelope album, and it covers up the binding, and it just kind of reinforces that binding for you. So here's where I'm just tucking it over, and that'll be the front cover. Now I am going to cover every single page with some pattern paper from this collection. So that's kind of how you build the album itself. Now I'm going to take my patterns and kind of decide exactly how I want them laid out. I have some really beautiful ones, but I did kind of want to make sure I paired maybe some of the busier ones with some that are not quite so busy. And me being an idiot, I don't know, I didn't count my pages, and so I had these all laid out, and I was like, great, I have 4 pages left, I can kind of use those as different elements and so on and so forth. And then I get to putting this album together, and I realize, oh wait, you have empty pages left. So you'll see me have to go back and pull out 2 more patterns here in a moment. Now the key to this is that on the page that you have the open pockets, in my front cover, because of the way I put my envelopes together, I have 2 pockets on this page. All of the other pages only have 1 pocket, but I have 2 pockets here on this page. And so whenever you're putting the pattern papers down, you just want to make sure you don't glue over the pocket. You could if you don't really want to use it as a functioning pocket, but I did want to use it as a functioning pocket. And I just I measured the envelopes to see how big I really wanted it to be. And then on the ones that had the openings, I trimmed about 1/8 of an inch off to kind of give myself a little bit more of an opening. Looking back on it, it probably would have been beneficial to trim more of about 1/4 of an inch off just to make it easier to slide the things in and out of the album. But it works. It definitely works. And then I'm just using a 1-inch Fiskars circle punch here to create a little notch for me to pull out. And I'm just going to continue this process. I'm going to end up with a lot of scraps as I go because of the way I'm cutting the papers to fit these A2 sized envelopes. So these envelopes are A2. It's just what I have in my scrap room. I didn't buy anything to complete this album. It was just envelopes I already had. So this page doesn't have a pocket, so it's just going straight down there. But the A2 envelopes measure approximately 4 3/8 of an inch wide. Well, when they're sitting in pages like this anyways, and 5 3/4 inch tall with the orientation that I have them here, and that's kind of the vertical orientation. And it really works well with me printing this kit at 8x8 because I have plenty of paper to work with. And being that there are 12 pattern papers in the collection, I was trying to say kit and collection at the same time. In the collection, it was very easy to have plenty of papers to work with. And these are actually very similar colors on the papers that I have left. So I just had to figure out exactly which one I wanted to use for these pages. Now this album, we're just putting the structure of it together here, and then we're going to go back and do some embellishing. I'm not actually adding any photos to this album today because this is going to be a working album. Anytime we travel or go to different places, I tend to take pictures of flowers, whether it's flowers outside of a museum, it could be flowers on a walk. I have pictures of flowers when we were in Colorado, when I took pictures as we were walking around my husband's great aunt's neighborhood. I also have pictures from a wedding that we were at when we were walking from the wedding to the reception. I have pictures that I took of some flowers that were just along the sidewalk. So I just have random flowers, and there's not necessarily a story behind them, but I just like them and they're pretty, and I have lots of them in my photo storage or my photo history on my computer, and I just haven't had a way to document them because, again, it doesn't necessarily fit into the story of what's going on, but I think they're pretty photos. So I thought this album would be really perfect for including those photos, having them documented, not even documented because there's nothing to document, but having them in an album so I can go back and look at them later, because there is a reason why I took the photo to begin with. I thought it was pretty. So for this little insert, as you see, most of my inserts are going to be primarily white, and I'm just adding a little bit of pattern paper to them. This one had a little bit of a pool. I just had to be careful to make sure that the pool wasn't going to get cut into the caught in the fold of the album, which is why you keep seeing me mess around with it. So I'm leaving this album primarily blank with just a couple embellishments here and there, and so that whenever I print the photos later, I can add them as I want to, and this can be a working album that I'm constantly adding new things to. At the end, we're going to flip through this, and I will show you all of the embellishments and all of the little pockets with their inserts, so you can kind of see how it came together. I know I am working pretty much in order, but it does start to get a little out of order here in a bit when I start adding some of the little embellishments. So I have a couple of them are just like cards, like flat cards that are stuck in the pockets. This one is going to be a tag. I'm going to do a folded card later. And this really leaves lots of places for me to include photos later. Most of the time, whenever I do mini albums, I print my photos on my little life printer, which prints them at 2 by 3 inches. And I've never tried it before, but I think I can print collage photos off of there as well. So I actually think it would be really easy to print some photos, like 2 photos to a 2 by 3, and be able to, have really tiny photos. You don't necessarily need huge photos on the flower pictures that I have, because a lot of the times I get very close up to those flowers. So, printing them smaller, you'll still be able to see the flower itself. And if I decide later when I am actually adding photos to these albums, if I want to add, you know, a folded card or something else, I can always change my inserts. And when it comes to the embellishments here in a moment, you're going to see I do add a couple things, but most of it's pretty generically themed. That way it'll fit with whatever I end up adding later. That's my little folded pocket. And then that red pattern is the back cover of my album. So I've got all my paper scraps here. I have tons of paper scraps that I will be able to continue to work with. And I do still have 2 full 8x8 pieces from the collection that I did not use. So I'm very first going to start on the front cover here, and I will be pulling a few things from my stash, such as these alpha letters. These are actually from, let's see. These are from, I believe it's Bella Boulevard. It doesn't actually have the manufacturer on the sticker sheet that you're going to see me pull out here, but I'm pretty sure it's Bella Boulevard. Yeah, I do know it's the Sunshine and Happiness collection, which makes me think, I'm pretty sure it is Bella Boulevard. Sunshine and Happiness collection, and it's their alpha stickers. And they're this beautiful kind of mustardy, olivey colored yellow that matches this collection absolutely perfectly. And by the grace of God, I actually had all of the letters I needed without having to alter any letters, which is super funny because the sticker sheet is getting kind of low. So I was really surprised to actually have all of the letters I needed, and I'm just going to make my title Floral Finds here. I'm trying to figure out how I wanted to place it, but I'm just going to put it right on the background. Now, it kind of blends in with the background here on screen, but you'll see in the photos at the end that yellowy color really pops off the page. It is not difficult to read in person at all. I'm just going to add a few of the little floral clusters that were in the cut apart sheet to decorate this front cover for me. And I'm just layering a couple of them. And then I am going to pull out some enamel dots from my stash as well. And they're just kind of a peachy pink color. I don't know where they came from. They're just some random ones that I had in my stash. And so I'm going to include them on the front cover, and I will repeat that element on the back cover of my little envelope album as well. Just a side note, I realize that I'm starting to run low on glue, which is kind of unfortunate because all of the craft stores are closed, and I don't think Walmart carries the glue that I like to use for my scrapbook albums. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more creative. I tried to find it on Amazon, but I have not been able to find it at a price that's okay. I feel like sometimes when you're so used to buying things at the craft store using a 40% off coupon, when you actually have to all of a sudden pay full price. Yes, I know I'm spoiled. I know that when it comes to this. But when I actually have to go pay full price for it, I'm like, wait, what? What now? I have to do what? So I'm struggling a little bit because I went to go order it on Amazon because I know I can get Amazon delivered here. I order supplies for my Etsy shop all the time on Amazon, even though we're in the middle of this crisis. It's a lot easier to still be able to operate my shop and get the supplies from Amazon. And Amazon is so amazing. I don't care if it takes a couple extra days. You know, whenever they get around to delivering it, that is perfectly fine. Amazon has been such a lifesaver in this situation. So I'm going to have to break down, I think, and pay full price for the glue because I only have like one glue runner left, and that's not going to last very long. And I was going through my like double-sided sticky tape and glue dots and wet glue, and I really don't have much other glue. So I'm going to have to either really get creative with the glue I do have and use it in projects, or go ahead and order some. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, I've started my embellishment on the pages, and what I did was pulled out just a pile of LE Studio 3x4 cards that I have in my stash. I have a big box on the shelf of my desk It's like under my desk. It's the shelf that's under my desk. And I have all of my 3x4 and 4x6 cards stored in there. So I just grabbed a pile. I wanted to grab the squared corner ones, which is why I didn't grab any of the Project Life branded ones, because they have the rounded corners. Because this album has very harsh corners on it. And I kind of wanted to keep it cohesive. However, I end up rounding a couple corners just to make it a little bit more decorative. And Ellie's Studio has such bright, beautiful colors that I was very easily able to find a lot of things that worked really well with the colors in this collection. This collection is full of some bright, beautiful colors. So I ended up pairing a yellow that works really well. Ended up pairing one card that has a couple tones of yellow, teal, pink, and red on it. This one that says makes me happy, or make me happy. It says the simple things that make me happy, which I thought really worked well in this album. And then I am going to add just a gray one at the beginning, going back to the beginning pages and adding a gray one that just says newsworthy. And I can layer photos on here. I can layer some journaling if I decide that there is a story I want to tell. Basically, I think I'm just going to document what the flower is, if I know, and where I took the picture. And that's kind of it. I don't really plan to add a lot of journaling. I really want this album to be more about the florals. And then, of course, allowing the beautiful papers to shine through. Now, these papers, again, are from Thoughtful Studio. This is the Tessa Wakes Up the World collection. And I will have that link down here below for you to go check it out at the Etsy shop. It is a digital download kit that you print from home, or you can have printed at a printer. So it's extremely affordable, and the great thing about it is that you can print as many copies of the pages as you want. At the very back, I just added kind of that dot pattern, which is the small version of this dot pattern, and then a little die cut that says, finally, and I thought that was fitting for just the last page. Now, the more and more I work with this album, the looser the pages will become, which will make it a little bit easier for somebody who's looking at my album later to pull things out and look at them. But for right now, it's still very new and very fresh, and I have got to fill it up with beautiful photos. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this process, as well as this beautiful little mini album that was inspired by Tracy Reed as well as Marie from Thoughtful Studio. So make sure you go check out the shop. Make sure you go check out other design team member projects that you can find here on YouTube as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And then also take a hand at trying this DIY envelope album for yourself. It's really a beautiful way to showcase the pattern papers that you're working with, and it's really kind of a fun way to just have another type of scrapbook album. I am that person that gets bored doing the same thing over and over and over again, so I like to have different projects going at any given point in time. If you've been around for a while, you know that that is definitely the case for me, and I usually jump around. I don't really scrapbook chronologically, so having multiple projects working for me is the best way for me to work. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I have my last design team video up here for you to view if you have missed it, and then also make sure you subscribe to my channel so you will be notified anytime I post something new. All right, I hope you have a great day. Bye.